Grand Rising, everybody. This morning I have a dream message. I feel like it was a self reflective moment for me, but I also feel like it's a collective message because it's so relatable to this full moon in Capricorn. What's so significant about this full moon in Capricorn that this is a blue moon. So this is the second full moon in Capricorn this year. And on top of that, it's at an anaretic degree, which is at 29 degrees. Whenever we get to the 29th degree in astrology, it is the degree of self-mastery, but also the ending of pretty much clearing up a lot of karmic lessons of a major karmic cycle. Before it's mastered into the next zodiac sign. And so, let me tell you about my dream and how this was relatable collectively, because it was definitely expanding my consciousness on messages where I can relate to for other people, but didn't have to necessarily experience in my personal life. And this is one of the reasons why I know this is a collective message for the full moon in Capricorn, because full moon in Capricorn deals with karmic family ties, but it also deals with karmic patterns, right? And it had me reflect this morning in my thoughts on how I can relate to that in my own personal life with my own family. And for me personally, the full moon is transiting my sixth house. Okay, so for me, in late degrees in the sixth would be health. But health is more than just physical health. It can be mental, emotional, spiritual health as well. And I can definitely say one of the biggest things that I made a priority during this Cancer season was taking care of myself, being more nurturing, prioritizing my needs and well-being, and seeing how important that is. Because going back to that full moon in Capricorn with karmic family ties, throughout my life, I was always taught to put other people first. I am the oldest child of 5 kids. My mom had 5 children. And my mother was young, okay? It's no judgment. All of our parents was trying to learn about themselves. I know my mother was trying to learn who she was despite the mistakes she's made. But it didn't change the aftermath of certain deep psychological barriers that I didn't realize I needed to heal through over the years, which I have been doing. And so there's this energy here where I was always taught to put family first. I was always taught to look out for the well-being of my siblings and put myself last. And even the perception of the word selfish was completely wrong. I remember when I finally turned 18 and I left my mother to figure out what makes me happy. She was upset. She called me a bitch. She said I was selfish. And, it was so interesting because I'm just like, but I was literally your most obedient child. I made a lot of sacrifices as a teenager. I went through a lot of shit for you, taking care of your kids. I took on the motherly role. And granted, my mother worked a lot. My whole life I've always seen my mother work 2 to 3 jobs, so she wasn't home much. So I understand why she needed help, but it didn't change that I needed to take on those responsibilities. So I was taking on adult responsibilities instead of just able to just be a child and learn more about me and be in my own energy. And so I always, because I took on that motherly role for my siblings, I still kind of played that part till this day for them. And it made me realize there's a karmic pattern. I realized with my sister yesterday, I'm going to give y'all an example. And it's still related to karmic family ties. So I end up managing my money because I'm in transitioning to move to South Carolina. And granted, I still had money in my pocket. But the principle was, even though I had other resources to get money, I inconvenienced myself financially just to help my sister who's been battling with depression. She's been battling with depression for a while. She didn't tell nobody. And I didn't realize how bad she was dealing with depression until I came to her apartment. And it was no judgment, because a lot of people don't realize when you battle with depression, you don't cook, you barely clean, everything just stacks up. And so it was the most dirtiest I've ever seen my sister's place. And I tried to give her assurance that it's okay. And so it didn't make me realize how bad it was until I seen her bathroom. And I was like, yes, this is really, really bad. But I gave her love, I gave her compassion, and all I wanted to do was help her. I was like, maybe if I help clean this place, it'll make her feel better. It'll help her get back on her feet and more organized mentally, because a clean place has a clean mind. But she was needing products to clean her place. She needed more stuff, so I ended up inconveniencing myself, spent almost $100 worth of things, like kind of my last 100 I had on me before I utilized my other resources to get money to get her stuff. And so I just kept quiet, and I was silenced for a minute, but something in my spirit didn't feel right that I kept it silenced, because I know that my sister would have paid me back. But it was the principal karmic pattern of me still leaning towards that space I was raised through trauma of, well, you got to take responsibility for your siblings like they're your children. You'll figure it out. But then my spirit was like, no. And it was like a realization where it was a reflective moment how my sister is. And I was like, you know what, sis? I need to be more selfish like you. And she took it the wrong way at first. She's like, that's just not the right word. I'm like, but the true word of selfish meaning looking out for your self-interest above others. I said, and that is being selfish, but not in a bad way. You have a healthy selfish and you got an unhealthy selfish. She's a South Node of Aries. She always think about herself first, easily. So if it inconvenienced my sister, she's not going to do it. And I felt like that was a reflective mirror moment. Like, I do need to be more like that. And I was like that for a while. But when I got back home, it made me realize it was just a natural, subconscious, habitual behavior pattern of inconveniencing myself for family, mainly my siblings. And it made me realize, like, I'm glad I had that self-awareness to break from that. And so I finally spoke up. And my sister was like, you could have just told me, I would have paid you back. And I told her, I said, I know, but this is a realization that I should have never put myself in that position to inconvenience myself anyways. And instead of beating myself up, I gave myself a lot of compassion, but it made me realize, okay, that is a family karmic pattern I do need to break. I always feel like subconsciously I'm responsible for my siblings, even though I moved away 15 hours away from family to finally focus on myself. It still was a subconscious habit to just show love. It was to basically mother them. And in reality, I was neglecting myself in the process. So it was a karmic lesson to never do that again after that sense of self-awareness and realization. And granted, my sister is going to pay me back for that. So it made me realize, like, damn, I would never put myself in that position again. And so I remember after cleaning some of her place, I'm like, you know what? I never gave her a gift, for her place. So in the midst of me learning that karmic lesson, not a few hours later, Spirit blessed me with money. Just because of that self-awareness, you see what I'm saying, of self-love. I was just like, damn, Spirit, thank you. Well, in the midst of that money I was blessed with, I'm going to pour back into my sister. I'm going to just get maybe $50 worth of things of a gift for her place. She doesn't have a place to organize her stuff, so let me get her an organizer. Let me get her an organizer for her bathroom to organize her products. That's the least I could do as a gift back to her. So it made me realize the healthy give and take scenario of learning to speak up and set that boundary to really put yourself first without feeling guilty about it, Because growing up, again, subconscious barrier of inconveniencing myself, being the martyr. And I learned through that lesson, like, I'm not going to be the martyr again. I don't have to sacrifice myself to help people. I have such a big heart, I'll give my last, but that is an unhealthy karmic pattern I needed to change. So this is relatable to that full moon in Capricorn because it's a karmic pattern I didn't realize, but because of the self-healing and self-awareness I've been going through, made me have that click very quickly, right? And so in the dream, there was this family who was doing arranged marriages. And there was this arranged marriage between this one girl and this one boy. It was 4 four people, and I thought, well, maybe they should switch. Like, my intuition in the dream was like, I feel like that one belongs with this one and this one belongs with that one, but hey, who am I to judge, you know? And so they were happy with their arrangement, and it was the specific girl and boy. They had to be teenagers at the time in this dream recently, and you could tell they loved each other. They had a lot of chemistry. They were happy they were going to get married. And the moment the girl's family, and it was like a black family, I believe it was a black family, and the moment the family realized that the boy was raised in a different religion, they was like, we Christian over here. We don't do all of that. She's not getting married to this boy because of that. And like, they hurry up and try to run out. And I just thought it was so rude and disrespectful how they approached the family and the boy, because, you know, people do have traditional values, you know. If this is what you guys feel is best for your daughter, the family, then I understand. But disrespecting the family for their belief systems and everything is not cool. And I believe the boy was Indian, so I think they were Hindus, practice Hinduism. Either way, I felt very conflicted. I felt very upset at what the family did and how they treated that boy. Most importantly, they didn't care how the girl felt. They didn't care that she actually liked the boy and had chemistry, because in their minds, she's going to be what they want her to be. And it reminded me of how the South was. When I was in Louisiana, I had a friend, and she has a family that is very, very traditional. And you could tell in the dream it was very similar, because this family was very traditional. They were heavily Christian, and they didn't have any other belief systems. They thought this is our only way and that's what it is. But they want this girl to be like them so bad. And I feel like with this full moon in Capricorn, it's about breaking away the ancestral curses or ancestral generational ties that hinders growth and expansion in yourself. Because we don't realize, when it comes to karmic ancestral ties, in a DNA and conscious level and psychological level, you can go back up to 15 generations of mindsets into one person. And so it's time to break away the generational curses, our generational unhealthy karmic patterns that leaves you to not be your true authentic self. And I remember telling the family in a dream, I was like, you getting in her way of love and what's for her can, you know, it can fire back on y'all karmically for that. And when I woke up in my dream, I didn't realize that can happen. We all are individuals. We're not here to be the same as everyone else. We're here to find our own way and what works for us truly. And it's very sad that, you know, even the boomer generation, a lot of y'all have such traditional values that y'all have a hard time wanting to keep up where the world is going. And the world is changing. The world's evolving. Tradition has to change, including the system here in America is changing, because it makes you realize that old has to go out eventually. That things have to change because it's a part of life. That everything can't stay the same. And just because it has to change doesn't mean it's a bad thing. And so during this full moon in Capricorn, pay attention to the generational karmic soul ties, ancestral soul ties that you took on as a part of your identity. Have you taken on an identity that is not yours? And that's why a lot of people feel lost right now. And this is where it's going to be very intense the next 2 weeks, especially the cardinal signs, Capricorn, Aries, Libra, and Cancer placements, because we are connected to family soul ties and self-identity in relationships. So it's heavy in these areas because we are in this space universally from this eclipse back in April in Aries that's teaching people to find their sense of identity. And in order to do that, you have to go back to your roots where all of it started. Ancestral ties, family soul ties, family habits. What has it been in your family pertaining to relationships? Relationship patterns, karmic patterns. What has it been in communications? What has it been in belief systems in the family from generation to generation? Do you know who you are without all of the projections that has been, projected and groomed to you as a child? If you didn't have your family's influence and their own beliefs and their own fears and things projected onto you, would you know who you are without all that? And if the answer is no, then it means it's time for introspection. It's time for deep self-reflection. It's time for some soul searching. It is. Because this is a catalyst. This is a spiritual activation these next couple of weeks. Whenever we have the blue moon, it can represent a rare and beautiful opportunity presented to us. And in this case, spiritually universally, is saying, I'm giving you the opportunity to find who you truly are. I'm giving you the opportunity to be brave enough to face your fears head on, the illusions and delusions that you've tried to cover up for so long, but you have to allow reality to hit that it's a time for change. It's a time for self-awareness. It's a time to seek something deeper in life. And that first starts with finding who you are. Having the courage to step into the unknown of self-discovery instead of just sticking to what's comfortable because that's all you know. So I encourage you guys to get out your comfort zone with yourself and seeking truth, because this is the way to your freedom. And Spirit is giving all of us the opportunity window to confront anything that's holding us back from being that and having that. So this is what I had this morning in the dream message collectively, because it was so relatable to today. So relatable to this full moon in Capricorn. But I love you guys, and I will talk to you guys later.